She's written a book with a very catchy title. It's called I'm Tired, Carry Your Own Bags, a 7-day journey to peace, passion, and purpose. And she is my special guest this hour. Tanya, it's very nice to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Now, you know that that's a very catchy title to that book,
I
right?
do.
I assume that you are referring to the fact that after a tumultuous decade, you're pretty much tired.
Well, you know, the title represents what most of us feel when we are so encumbered with carrying other people's drama and insecurities. And so at some point, you don't feel like bags, you don't feel like stuff, you feel like just that word that's listed there. And I had to go back and forth with publishers, but they said, okay, if that's what you feel, go ahead and go for it.
Okay, and you have gone for it. You have, in fact, gone in a direction to try to reshape your life and to teach other women how they can empower themselves, partly because you needed to go through that process yourself.
Absolutely. I believe that all of us were created for a specific purpose in life. And what I try to explain to women primarily, but anyone who's going through a traumatic or a stressful period, is find pain and take it and make it purposeful, because there is purpose in your pain. And so you have to grow from your experience. I don't believe that any of us are put into circumstances that can't benefit not only ourselves in the future, but others. So I felt it was my charge to look at my experience, know that I was given an extra portion of strength, and come out and tell the women, listen, if I could go through it and I'm okay, you can go through it and do something amazing with your life.
Boy, that's a magnificent attitude to have, because a lot of people who have been through what you've been through in the last year and what your family has experienced and suffered through might not be able to find a positive purpose.
Absolutely.
But you've taken what obviously can be labeled a tragedy and found some way to come out on the other side stronger.
Absolutely. It wasn't always easy. I had a lot of faith. I'm a woman of faith, and I have support from my family. But you go through it and say, you know what, you have to find that quiet space in yourself and see, what am I about? And that's why the book is out, because as long as you're carrying someone else's baggage, you no longer know what makes you happy. You forget what your joys and your peace and your passion is. But when you find that quiet zone, you would be amazed what unfolds and how you're excited about other things outside of that terrible relationship.
Well, if you are just joining us, this is It's Your Call, and Tanya Young Williams is my guest. She's written a book about carrying baggage. I'm sure some of us could relate to that. If you have questions or comments, you can email me at lynn@lynndoyle.net, and we'll share some of those questions with you.
Jayson was a huge personality. People love him, and now you're not being accepted, and that was big for him, and it made him crack.
So when you're talking about dealing with alcoholism or using prescription medication, that kind of thing, was that your baggage, or was that dealing with his baggage?
No, he was the one who was drinking the alcohol to an excess, or needing to sleep and taking too many pills. But when you are in an environment, that's your life, because now you don't know who you're seeing at 12 o'clock at night or at 4 o'clock in the morning. You don't know if someone's going to wake up from this sleep-induced coma and be out of their mind. So it was a lot of baggage, because at the end of the day, you're living a just-in-case life. For a while when things got bad, and I've shared this during some of my domestic violence speeches, I slept with a knife under my bed, just in case a certain person came in the house. Now, part of the day, he was amazing. He was what everyone loved. But when he went into those dark places, he became a Jayson no one knew.
Was he a dark Jayson prior to February 14th, 2002, when the limo driver was shot in your home, or did he become a dark person as a result of that tragedy?
What you find, and what I realized with Jayson and many other huge personalities, including your Charlie Sheens and your Mel Gibsons, they have the ability to mask who they are when things are going well. Once things start to crack and under pressure, you hear these violent things from them, and you hear it from hugely successful, usually men, because they've been getting away with masking it for so long. But when things start getting bad, that dark side that was always there, but you rarely saw, or people covered up, now it's evident, and you see it.
That's an interesting observation.
I spend most of my time, Lynn, as an inspirational speaker. And that's my goal, to empower and inspire people, primarily women. But sometimes you just need to hear an encouraging word without attachment, and sometimes you don't want to feel like you're vested. So I created a phone number that has no profit-generating mechanism attached to it, where women can just call in. And every day I change the message just to empower them, inspire them, and say, no matter what you're going through, I'm praying for you, one, but you can do it. So every day it's just a word of inspiration for whomever desires to call the number.
Where did you find your strength to make the decision that it was time to end the marriage?
It had been a disconnected or disjointed marriage for a very long time, meaning that we didn't spend as much time together as a family. We have a home in South Carolina and one in New York, and we found that we were spending time apart. And I had an amazing upbringing with fantastic parents, but an amazing father. And I always believed that my children should have that experience or better. And when I realized they weren't benefiting from this relationship, in fact, they were looking at a dysfunctional relationship, but thinking it was normal. And I said, you know what, if I want to be a role model to my children, one of the most important things I must do is teach them what it means to be a woman and a powerful woman. And part of that was saying, you know what, I'm not going to carry your bags. I don't want my children to be in a relationship with a man that's not there. I don't want them to think marriage coexists when people don't cohabitate as often as they should. So they were the reason. My love for them was the reason I finally said, you know what, I'm tired. I've heard women say that the husband will say, well, don't tell anyone. You know, don't tell anyone, or don't share our horrible marriage even with your best friend, because it's still about perception. Mm-hmm. The reason a lot of men don't want women to file for divorce is because what it'll look like to other people.
Right.
They don't love them.
Women find themselves isolated sometimes because they're trying to keep it to themselves or deal with it themselves. And isolation is probably the worst thing that can happen if you're in a tragic situation or you're looking to escape it.
Absolutely. One of the downsides, even though you feel liberated, even in filing the papers, you do feel liberated, but going through divorce is a very isolating experience because you have mutual friends who don't know what side to go on. So for women, I encourage them to find other like-minded women, because you really can't always depend on your friends. And so you can feel very alone during the process. So that's why it's important to join yourself with other women who are experiencing the same thing. Find a women's outreach group. Go to an organization where women are dealing with these same stresses as you are, and then there you will receive power from that. In part of my speaking, one of my presentations, it's called a VIP. You're a victim in peril. But by the time you leave, you're a VIP, a victim in power. And through the speech and presentation I speak to women about having strategy. It's about strategy. You're not going to leave my presentation and go home. But now you're going to start thinking about, if I have to leave, maybe I should put money to the side. Who are the list of people I can call if I have to leave? So when you're in a bad situation, you need to start now strategizing for your exit. You know, maybe things will turn around, but the man usually never changes. Mm-hmm. But it's about strategy, and that's the key word for my presentation.
To answering some questions
Absolutely,
for us.
That'll be
you said
fun.
There's pretty much nothing that you haven't answered.
Everything. I'm an open book.
Okay. Well, you mentioned in your book, and you also mentioned earlier in the interview, that you're a very spiritual person. Yes. So there are some questions about the commitment to a marriage, particularly in the eyes of God.
Absolutely.
You know, for better or worse, for richer, for poorer, you know, that kind of thing. So how do you deal when people say, well, you know, a lot of us are married for life, and then others say, I have to make this choice because it's the best thing for my life and the lives of my children? How do you reconcile the two?
Well, I oftentimes think that our priest said for worse and for worse, and never better for worse. So I should get an out with that one right there.
Just changing that for wedding vows for the centuries to come.
That's right. It's null because of that. But it's difficult. I prayed about it a lot, and I had to think about what love means. I think if you're a spiritual person, you know that love is what drives all things. And I was in a relationship where there was no more love being given from Jayson towards me nor to my children. So although the institution of marriage is something that I value my life, my safety, and my love for my children far more than I do the institution.
Did you still love him at the time that you made the decision to divorce?
Absolutely. I still love who I thought he could be. I still love the person I knew at 18 years old before all the fame and all of the other things that go on top and layer. I love who I think Jayson could have become. So going through the divorce and filing for the divorce, it was tough. There were even times where we spent a time together after I filed, where we would go and have a great time with the children, and he would say, "You're not sure about this?" I'm like, "Yeah, I am."
Yeah, so, that happens a lot, doesn't it? I bet you hear that from women all the time.
Yes,
they make that decision, and then boy, doesn't it seem like it turns around for a short period of time,
but
or something
they don't
like
have
that.
the stamina. Men oftentimes, when it's a bad relationship, someone in the relationship doesn't have the stamina to keep up the facade, and then you say, "Okay, that's why I'm filing."
Okay, not one to look back, but this question is actually about that night that Mr. Christophe was killed.
Yes.
Do you ever think how your life might have ended up if that incident had not happened?
No, I don't even know what my life would have been like. I firmly believe that our lives are destined and we have a purpose and there's a path. And the goal is to learn from whatever your experience, because my purpose is supposed to be here, and that was just something that was going to be on my path. Of course, I pray and I wish that it never occurred, but it's something I can't change.
Okay. Your book is also subtitled A 7-Day Journey to Peace, Passion, and Purpose. How can you accomplish those 3 things in 7 days? One viewer would like to know. And I'm one of them.
No, you know what I found, and I've been studying and researching this for years about enrichment and empowerment. And it doesn't take long to dig down, to drill down and find out what your core is. Now, after the 7 days, there's a lot more work to sustain what you've learned. But within 7 days of asking yourself really tough questions, what makes me happy? What did I enjoy doing when I was 13 years old and had no responsibilities? What are the little things that make me laugh when no one's there? They are the questions that you can answer, and it doesn't take forever. And now when you look by the end of day 7, you see a shape of who you are if you weren't carrying so much baggage.
Okay, so what's the one piece of advice you want people who are watching this show to take away?
That at the end of the day, you were created to have a joy for life. And joy is within you, and therefore, the only way to tap into it is to find that quiet space, and it's going to reveal itself.
Okay. They say that which does not kill us makes us stronger.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And you have emerged from this very strong, evidently. Thank you so much, Tanya Young Williams, for being with us. We certainly appreciate it.